And go ahead.
Our mission, Helping Parents Heal, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting parents whose children have passed. Through support and resources offered, we aspire to help individuals become shining light parents, meaning a shift from a state of emotional heaviness to one of hopefulness and greater peace of mind. Helping Parents Heal goes a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and afterlife evidence in a non-dogmatic way. Helping Parents Heal affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and encourage open dialogue. Attendance at this meeting is voluntary. We hope that participants will learn from and share with each other. Discussions here are confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Zoom meetings run by leadership are not confidential. These meetings typically feature guest presenters and are posted on YouTube so that affiliate members worldwide can watch and benefit. Neither type of Helping Parents Heal meeting is designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers, allowing parents to learn about many possible ways to heal. This includes covering progressive topics such as afterlife evidence and connecting with our children who've passed. The views expressed by our guest speakers may or may not reflect the opinions of Helping Parents Heal leaders and members, so we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here with us this evening. Thank you, Jim, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You're muted, Elizabeth. You're muted.
There we go.
Thank
Sorry about that. Anyway, it's wonderful to have not only Jim here, but also Mike and Beth, as well as Suzanne. But let me quickly read Jim's very short bio so that you know a little bit more about him. Jim Spruell is the Shining Light Dad of Dakota and the director of the new documentary entitled Wolf's Message, based on the best-selling book by Suzanne Giesemann. Dakota assisted his dad in composing the song featured in Wolf's Message. And throughout the journey, Dakota has played a crucial role in the healing process for Jim and his wife, Gloria. The documentary has received numerous prestigious awards. Jim is a master storyteller, and he brings that skill to the film, video, and content realm. As owner and director of Zuza Films, Jim helps brands of all sizes tell their unique story. He's been called the most user-friendly director in the business, and because of the tone he establishes on set, he gets amazing performances out of celebrities as well as everyday people. If you'd like to tell a story and have a great time doing it, call Jim and Zuza Films. I'm going to go ahead and put the link to his website in the chat box. But before introducing Jim, let's go ahead and just have Suzanne say a few words about all of this. Is that
Hey everybody, I did not expect to be on camera, so I'm dressed up to go out to dinner. But we had a date, but otherwise I would have stayed the whole time here because you all are just going to love Jim. Our family has fallen in love with him and his family, brought together by our kids in spirit. I feel my Susan and Wolf and Dakota together all the time because they're on a mission and we're sharing that mission, and that is to get the word out to the world that love never dies and death is not the end. And Wolf's Message allows us to do that. And there's no doubt in my mind that Dakota led us to his dad. And I'm just grateful that Jim is here to tell that story with you today, and that he was the one that Spirit chose to tell Wolf's Message because he did an amazing job. So thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suzanne, for saying a few words. This is so exciting to have you on here. And we will have Suzanne at the end of the month as well to talk more about Wolf's Message as well as her new book. So, but go ahead, Jim, and thank you, Suzanne.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Tell us about, first of all, how you met Suzanne and how this all came about.
Okay. Well, when our son Dakota transitioned in November of 2021, Gloria, she's a voracious reader, and she started reading every near-death experience book she could get. She read everything by Richard Rohr, another great resource, and we live out in the sticks, and Suzanne and Ty came out when they were in Atlanta. They know how far out in the sticks we actually are, and so the way that we get books is through Amazon. And one day, Gloria was, I was working on something, and she went to her Amazon cart, and there was a book in there. And she was like, "Okay, did you put a book in there?" No, I didn't put a book in there. She didn't put it in there. I didn't put it in there. It was a book by someone we'd never heard of, a book we've never heard of. Sorry, Suzanne. And it was called Still Right Here by Suzanne Giesemann. And so Gloria looked at, once she figured out, okay, I didn't put it in there, but I want to read about it. The description was perfect for what she and I were looking for at the time, which was more comfort and more of a sense of Dakota is still with us. We needed that sentiment, we needed that belief system. And so anyway, Gloria orders the book, and she's all jacked about it. And it shows up, and she was like a kid at Christmas. I mean, she was so excited, and she rips open the Amazon pack, and she's looking at it, and there's, Suzanne Giesemann still right here. And she turns the cover and goes to the first page, and she goes, "What the hell?" And I hear her turn another page, and she goes, "What the hell?" And I'm like 6 feet away. I'm like, and I hear one more, and I'm sure it was beyond what the hell. And I said, "What is up?" She said, "Look at this." And I looked at it, and the first 126 or 128 pages were printed upside down and backwards. The rest of it was okay, sort of yin and yang, if you will. But Gloria was very upset. And so I'm a fixer. So I whipped up I was on my laptop anyway. So I look up this Suzanne Giesemann character, and I find her, I find all this stuff on Suzanne. So I fire off a not exactly eloquent or sweet email. And I accused poor Suzanne and her entire staff of shoddy production values and da 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 da, all on and on and on. And so
It's all right, Jim. I forgive
it
you.
worked out okay, Suzanne. It worked out okay.
I know.
And so Suzanne, first we hear from Bev. We all know Bev, and she said, "I'm so sorry. This has never happened. This thing has been printed thousands and thousands and thousands of times. Never happened. We'll get you a new book. Don't worry about it. We're so sorry." And then we heard from Lynette about 5 or 10 minutes later, and Lynette said sort of the same thing. "I'm so sorry. I'll get it to you." What was funny is Lynette later, because we talked to Lynette a lot because she lives not far from us. We have lunch and such. And she said, "I thought you were just a real jerk." But Lynette, being Lynette, used a much more flowery word than jerk. I'll let you use your imagination for that one, but it was a doozy. Thank you, Lynette. And um, so she thought I was not a nice guy. And then about 5 minutes later after that, we hear actually from Suzanne Giesemann herself. And by then, Gloria and I had started talking about, do you think Dakota might have pulled this thing off? Because since he had passed, he had done some beautiful, wonderful, no other explanation, NOE, to use Suzanne's terms, or whatever that's called, her term, and the stuff we couldn't even possibly understand. So we were like going, well, maybe that was Dakota just trying to get our attention. So we get this email from Suzanne, and she basically said, "I have learned in all my decades of talking to people beyond the veil that a lot of time, I'm butchering your words, Suzanne, so forgive me. They carry their personality with them, and they talk to you in the way that they would have when they were here." Let me ask you three things. Did Dakota have a unique sense of humor? He most certainly did. Was he a bit of a prankster? He most certainly was. And did he see the world in a different way than most people? And that is 1,000% affirmative. That was the thing. She said, I think I don't know how he did it, and we still don't know. But Suzanne said, I don't know how he did it, but I think Dakota did that um, just to get your attention. And we're like, okay. And then she said, but I tell you what, I would like to do a reading for you guys. And this is a long time after Dakota had passed. And I think by the time the reading actually happened, it was about 2 years after he had passed. So we had a long period, and Dakota had a big long period of getting loose and talking to us in all the ways that he could. But he certainly came through in the reading. In fact, the reading was so powerful. And Irene and Elizabeth, if you want me to shut up, I'll stop. But
Oh, don't shut up. Keep going. You're wonderful.
okay, the reading was so powerful, and he also popped in on Suzanne a couple other times. She has people pop in all the time, so she might not remember them all, but we do. And she would say, "Hey, Jim, Dakota really loves to laugh, doesn't he?" And I'm like, "Yes, he does." But anyway, the reading itself was so powerful, and there were so many beautiful things throughout that reading. Um, and I can talk about the reading as well, but I'll talk about in the timeline to Wolf's message. Um, she said, I would like to talk about him. I'm one of the keynote speakers at the Helping Parents Heal conference in August coming up. I'd love to talk about Dakota. Well, we were thrilled because we love talking about Dakota, and to hear somebody else like Suzanne Giesemann talk about Dakota, we were like, oh my God, yeah, let's do it. And so anyway, we started exchanging emails because like I said earlier to you guys before we went on, I transcribed everything that Suzanne had said, and then I did her, Suzanne, I think you call it the after party. Is that right? Yeah. So I did this long after party. I think it was about 16 pages of stuff. Like here's what made sense. Here's what didn't make sense. Here's what was really cool. Here's something that blows our minds. And it was 16 pages and of that, and sent that off to her. And as she was preparing for her Helping Parents Heal conference, she was like, okay, on this point right here, I need a picture because there was a beautiful, amazing moment where she talked about his shoes. And if you ever saw Dakota's shoes, he had this one pair of shoes that he loved. They looked like clown shoes. They were so beat up. They looked like you'd put them on a comedic hobo in a Red Skelton skit. Y'all are too young to know Red Skelton, but anyway, look it up. And anyway, so we were doing emails back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And they were all through my work email, which is jim@zuzafilms.com. And somewhere in this time period, and Suzanne, step in if I'm messing it up, she talked to a psychic, and this psychic, as she's preparing for Helping Parents Heal, and we're jacked, we're going to go. She met with a psychic, and the psychic said, this year there's going to be a movie about your work. And she knew without a doubt that her work was going to be Wolf's Message. And she didn't know how that was going to happen. She didn't know a filmmaker. Well, she knew plenty of filmmakers, and they'd approached her before, but there was nothing in the works. So one of my emails back to her with, I don't know if it was shoes or guitars or whatever, with and the thing she finally saw down in the left-hand corner my Zuzah Films logo. And she was like, ding. It was probably more like, oh. And she saw that I was a filmmaker. At that point, she just knew that I was a guitar player, a musician, and all that other stuff that doesn't pay too well. But she didn't know that I was a filmmaker. And so she said at that point, she knew that was it. That was the connection, and that was how it was going to happen. I didn't know that yet. So, but anyway, she sent me a note, and she said, I want to, I've been told by a psychic. She told me the whole thing. I've been told by a psychic a movie's going to be made. Let me ask you, have you ever read Wolf's Message? And I said, no, I haven't. And she said, have you ever seen Heart Gifts? And I said, no, I haven't. So anyway, she said, watch that video, read the book, and let's talk. Okay. So I read the book and I actually read it and I listened to the Audible twice and I watched the Heart Gifts presentation she did, which is about Wolf, um, many, many, many times. And I was like, and I use the analogy of, when you're in a crowd and you see somebody waving to you and you wave back and then you realize they're not talking to you at all, they're talking to the clown behind you. She never said, I want you to, at this point, she never said, I want you to do direct my documentary. It was just, hey, have you read this? Hey, have you watched this? And so I took a chance. I was like, well, maybe I'll let Gloria read it. She's over there. And I'll let my business partner, Mickey, read it. And I said, is she asking me if I'm interested in doing it? And Gloria said, I think so. And Mickey said, I think so. And I said, okay, I'm going to go for it. So we set up a call. And my opening words in the call to Suzanne, I just said, um, here's how I see this opening up. Because I already saw how this whole thing could play out in my mind. And at that point, she said, yes. And I said, yes. So that was it. That's how that, so that's how it came to be. That's a bit of a timeline for you. So if you got lost anywhere, I apologize. I go into cul-de-sacs.
Well,
So
could you maybe tell a little bit about how her reading also talked a
yeah,
little bit about what was going to be happening?
I
Uh,
can. I can. Yeah, thanks, Elizabeth. You pulled me out of that cul-de-sac back into a main drive. So, yeah, I mean, her reading was amazing because it was an hour of just, again, mind-blowing, jaw-dropping stuff. And I've told people about it. Gloria's told people about it. We're like, unless she had cameras all over our house, she knew things about Dakota, about us, about just our lifestyle. And that's because she was talking to Dakota and talking to us, having Dakota talk to us through her, and it was beautiful. First off, he took credit for manipulating the book, and and later in the reading, he said, "Yeah, it was genius." Which is, if you knew Dakota, that would be exactly the way he would talk about himself. But he took credit for it, and he said the reason he had to manipulate that book was he had to establish this connection. I remember Suzanne's hand, this connection between me, Suzanne, and Gloria right now, right here, right now. And we thought, oh, that's a beautiful, sweet thing. We're going to learn so much from Suzanne. We had no idea how massive that connection truly was going to be. And, the other thing, like I said, that didn't make sense was he would say his name and say premiere. We're like, okay. That was one of the ones, we were talking earlier, Irene would have marked that. I would have marked it. Elizabeth would have marked it as, don't know what that means. And then the other one was saying his name would be in lights. And again, those were those little things that later, way down the road, when Wolf's message was a real thing and really happening and being put together, we were like, oh my God, he knew all this all along. And the other one, from an emotional standpoint, and Gloria and I were talking about this earlier, one thing that meant a lot to us was he said, you didn't do anything wrong. And we had to make, like, unfortunately, a lot of parents and maybe somebody on this little meeting has had to do. You had to make that terrible decision, even if it's the right decision, to take your loved one off life support, and we had to do that. And so to have him say, you didn't do anything wrong, and he followed it up with, I could not have stood around, I could not have stood to be in that body because it wasn't viable. And I don't care how confident you are in your decision to make that move as a parent. It's there's always that doubt, like, maybe we shouldn't have done that. But it was very meaningful and beautiful that we understood that he was with us. And the other thing, and Wolf's friends talked about it with Wolf and Wolf's message. I We believe he was ready to go do even bigger things from that side of the veil, because he has a lot more power there. So, um,
beautiful. And, I'd love for you to tell a little bit about, before Suzanne has to drop off, what it was like to work with her and to get to know her. And how was it that finally you found out you were actually going to be directing this movie?
Well, as anyone who's ever met Suzanne knows, she's a real terrible person. She yells at you all the time, and no, I'm kidding. No, it was working with Suzanne and this crew on this production has been the highlight of my career. And I've thanked Suzanne many, 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 many times for believing in me and trusting me with her story. And I've also thanked Mike and Beth Pasakarnis for trusting me with Wolf's story and his legacy. I mean, that was a huge thing to get from both of those people. And yeah, but she was amazing. Not on, and you guys have seen her in her Suzanne presentation mode and all that. But what I loved about Suzanne and Ty, by the way, and Velvet and Mike and Beth and Lynette and Sandy Soul Sister and all of Wolf's friends in this video is they opened up and they were not afraid to be vulnerable. They were not afraid to like get emotional. And you're especially with Ty and Suzanne, you're talking about former hardcore naval people, and they just let it all out, and it was beautiful,
May
and
I
that
speak up?
yes, ma'am. Please.
So, but what Jim isn't telling you that's another reason why he was the perfect person for this, because he had this setup where he could be behind a black curtain like the Wizard of Oz, but the person on the camera is looking straight into the camera. And because of this mirror system they have, you're seeing his face in the lens on an iPad screen. And so he's just conversing with us. And he would ask the question, which never showed up on the film, but he put everybody at ease with this beautiful style that you're all experiencing here. And to get Ty to become emotional on camera was a beautiful thing. And to put everybody at ease first, it was so important to me, and it's why I said no to other producers over the years, that this story, that Mike and Beth's story and who Wolf was told accurately and 100% true, and not to sensationalize, what is already a very sensational, true story. Took somebody who had no ego, who didn't have grandiose idea about how this should be. And Jim was the perfect person to get that true story out of all of us and tell it in a way that just draws people in. I just think the world of him and his, the way he works and his heart is just a beautiful thing.
And then there was also Dakota, who was working with him. So that's pretty
No
amazing
doubt.
as well. So that kind of sealed the deal, I'm sure, right?
Well, it did, and thank you, Suzanne, for those sweet thoughts. When I was sitting there thinking, why should I direct this thing? There were a lot of things, and one of them was I felt like I could bring some empathy and sympathy and tenderness to the whole notion because, like Mike and Beth, Gloria and I have lost a beloved child or had a beloved child transition. So I had that sensitivity to bring to the party. And also there were a lot of similarities between Dakota and Wolf. And Wolf was diagnosed schizophrenic. Dakota was not, but he also struggled in this life in a lot of ways that were tough to watch. But like Wolf, he was also incredibly smart. I mean, Dakota's IQ was over 155, which is, I like to say, that's how you know he was adopted. But okay, and so, but he was also kind and he was gentle. I mean, there were times at the end of his life where he had lost his license. So I would drive him a lot of places. His buddy Nolan, who was his bandmate that he was in the band house when he passed, was he'd drive him everywhere. And we'd be driving down the road and I'd have my hand, on the little whatever console, you know, and he would reach over at 23 years old, a 23-year-old male would reach over and grab my hand like that and just say, "I love you, Dad." I'd say, "I love you too, Bo." And that was it. I mean, that kind of gentleness and that kind of kindness, you don't find in many people at all. And that was Dakota, that was Wolf, and to me, that also helped me understand Wolf as much as as much as I could without ever having met him. And then the more I talked to Mike and Beth and all of Wolf's friends, it was just so obvious that Wolf was an amazingly sweet, kind, smart, huge spirit, and so was Dakota. And so that
And
was
now they're hanging out and having so much fun together. Sorry, Suzanne.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
if I could chime in again, what's so brilliant about Jim and the timing of this film is if it had been told years earlier, we wouldn't have had the same ending to the film. And Jim wove in beautifully Wolf's message, which became my Awaken Way teaching. And it's what's important to all of us. It's why this story had to be told, because this is the whole purpose. We're all here to understand that we're not only human. And Wolf's story proves that. And to show that we're all connected to each other and that it's love that connects us all. Your kids, they've passed, but we're still connected to them. And this movie has evidence of the afterlife, which is just so important for the world to know. So that was message number one. But message number two was the mental illness piece that you addressed, Jim. But the third message that I never saw being part of this film, but spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet, Jim brought it forth at the end, thanks to Mike and Beth being so willing to be vulnerable and share their current life situations, with Beth going through this struggle with this very aggressive form of leukemia. It brings in this third very important message that we don't need to fear death because it is not the end. And I truly feel that only Jim Spruell would have seen that and brought it forth as the final message of Wolf's message. And I know that all of you can appreciate that. And that's what Helping Parents Heal does such a beautiful job of sharing with everybody, that death is a tragedy for all of us, but it's not a tragedy for our kids. They live on and they're helping us, and they want us to spread these messages. So thank you to Elizabeth and Irene and everybody at Helping Parents Heal, all of us, for spreading those ripples.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Irene, it looks like you have a question for Jim. Did you want to, or maybe for Suzanne? I don't know, because Suzanne's still here.
Well, I have a couple, but Jim, what was some of your favorite moments during the filming? I mean, it must have been such a blast in some ways. And do you have any particular moment?
It was awesome. One of them is particular to the film itself, and the other one's just a funny little story. But one of the things I loved was, and I don't know if Ty is watching this or whatever, but it may embarrass him. I loved how he opened up. You know, I mean, that was an amazing moment for me to just watch that man just put it out there. And it was very gratifying that he trusted me enough to do that. And same with Suzanne, you know, I mean, she was no longer Suzanne Giesemann, the brand. She was no longer Suzanne Giesemann, the writer, the presenter, the rock star in the genre. It was Suzanne Giesemann, someone who had, had to say goodbye to her stepdaughter. So,
Nope, there's
Oh,
hey, there he is. There's Ty.
Here's the old guy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Good.
I was just
There's
bragging
Mike.
on you. I hope you
Yeah.
didn't hear it.
What a bunch of beautiful faces there.
Yeah,
So many good friends.
man.
it's wonderful to see you, Ty, as well, and to have Suzanne discussing the book and the movie with Jim is so much fun. And so, Suzanne, if you could also just add what was your favorite part of making the movie, since Jim just did, if that's okay.
My favorite part was the way his crew worked together. It was a very diverse crew. And
Yeah.
yeah, we had, white people, black people, gay people, and even one guy that dressed like a woman. I don't know what he is or what he claims to be, but everybody just worked together so beautifully. And at the end, we're all hugging each other. We felt like family after 4 full days of being here filming together. They were real pros, and it just showed that we can be different in our human lives, but when we have a mission and a passion and we share that and it comes together in a beautiful way, it did. Everybody, I mean, the fact that Spirit brought us, not just a guy with a camera that makes a movie, but real pros. This movie is a cinematic masterpiece, videographically beautiful. Not only does it tell a good story, but that was another way that Spirit was at work. And I have to thank our benefactor, Nancy Harris, for making it possible financially as well.
Nancy Harris, she's definitely an angel. I wanted to just say, speaking about the fact that it won all of these awards, could the two of you talk about what happened at the Illuminate Film Festival when you had no idea that there was going to be an award? And maybe, so I think Suzanne is saying for you to do that. Is that okay, Jim?
Yeah, it's fine. Because I've got there's part of the story that Suzanne, I think, knows, but I'll remind her. We got an itinerary. First off, to be honored, to be accepted, just to be accepted into that film festival was a huge, huge deal. It is a monster festival in that arena, and so we got an itinerary. I think Suzanne got the itinerary and shared it with me and Mike, because Mike Pasakarnis and I went out there with Suzanne. And there was a little note in there like movie will be shown. They'll do the pre-movie, then they'll do the movie, and then there may be, I think, said something to Suzanne like maybe a possible award presentation, I think is what it said.
Yeah.
Possible award presentation. And so, but we were not vain enough to think, well, of course that's going to be our award. It was like it could have been anything in that festival itself. So we watched the movie, and Mike and I I know Mike's on here, and Beth, so he'll know this story. We cry every time we see it, and Irene and Elizabeth and I were talking about before this every time, and I don't know if Ty is still crying, but Ty, at least early on, was crying with me at every screening as well. So Mike and I were in the bathroom before they played the movie, and this is again in Santa Barbara at the Illuminate Film Festival, and I was stuffing tissues into my pants for my tears, and I said, "You need some of these, Mike?" He said, "I've got a handkerchief." That's my best Mike impression I can do. You know, I got into the mosh, but anyway, so he actually had a handkerchief. So we go, we watch our movie, we're moved by it. The crowd is obviously way into it, and then we're supposed to go behind the stage to get ready for the what do you call it, Suzanne? Where we all talk afterwards. Anyway,
Yeah, a panel discussion.
panel discussion. Thank you, Suzanne Giesemann. That dropped out of my mind. So yeah, a panel discussion. So we're back there, and then the head of the director of the film festival is out there talking, and I'm sort of, I'm still getting my stuff together after watching and crying again watching the film, and then I realized she's talking about Wolf's Message, and it was the director giving Wolf's Message the Director's Choice Award. And then Suzanne and Mike, being Suzanne and Mike, they shoved me out on stage to go get the trophy. So I held it up, and it's really cool. And then we did the panel discussion, and then Mike and I go back behind back in the backstage area, and it's really dark, and we're sitting in our little director looking chairs, and Suzanne is leading the entire theater in her bless me method. Okay. And so and Mike and I are participating back there, and clear as day, I feel and see Dakota leaning in and going, I love you, Dad. I'm proud of you. I'm holding the trophy in my lap, and I'm just tears streaming down my face, streaming down my face. And I'm like, oh my God. And I mean, because he was right there, and the chairs were about, they're taller than the one I'm in now. So, and he was 6'1". He leaned in and said, I love you, Dad. I'm proud of you. And like I said, I just sobbed. And I'm sitting there in the dark, sobbing. And then I see this hand come and land on my right. Mike was on my right. I see this hand on my right thigh holding a handkerchief. He had given me his handkerchief. And and that made me cry more, because what a sweet thing for Mike Pasakarnis to do than, give me his handkerchief. And I just wept into it. And he did not want it back, by the way.
I could just say to all of you, these visits, like he just described, they're so clear and so strong because they're real, and all of our kids know what we're doing. They're part of our lives. They're proud of us for moving forward with them. So we're just grateful to tell a story that helps everybody know this. Yeah.
Yep. So that was my favorite Illuminate story. Because God bless Mike Pasakarnis and Suzanne Giesemann for that. It was amazing. And Beth, of course. But Mike's handkerchief is still somewhere in our laundry. Sorry, Mike.
That's pretty amazing. Could you tell us about what your favorite parts of attending the screenings were? Obviously with the Bless Me method and having this happen backstage, but what did you like the most in these different situations? Obviously, it's the same film each time, but always different, right?
Yeah, and Suzanne and I have talked about it because she's seen every single screening. Obviously, she and Ty have, but the ones that I've attended, and we did talk about this. I love the fact, because the way in our business we work, it's pretty much in a vacuum. Like I've seen this thing probably close now to 200 times, and in each form and all these, just I've seen it a lot, and after a while you kind of like, I don't know, was that funny? And it's not a funny film, but it's got some funny little beautiful smile moments thanks to Suzanne. And you'll hear the whole theater just kind of giggle. And it's like, that was good. Or a moment of like heartfelt, like, oh my God, that really tugs at my heartstrings. And you see heads go together, and people like wiping, you see them wiping their eyes and stuff like that. Happy tears, sometimes sad, but mainly happy tears. And it oh yeah, and people coming up to me afterwards, it was a real blessing, because and then just saying, I lost my son, my daughter, my husband, my mom, my dad, my cousin, my loved one, my lover, and your film made me feel better. It gave me comfort, and that what an honor that is. So it's been the interaction after the film, and just watching the reaction during the film itself, which has been pretty amazing.
I'm sure, and I'm sure that it was for you as well, Suzanne, being able to see the effect of this.
Oh, it's just what he said. We're only 1/3 through the tour. We've taken a little break in a few weeks, but we leave again on Tuesday for part 2 on the West Coast. And if you're in Nevada, California, we are almost sold out on that one. But our third part, Southwest and Southeast. And people have already, even if they've already seen it, to get to share with everybody in person, just like Jim said, to feel the emotion, to share it together, to come to that realization, oh my God, this is real. My favorite moment was so sacred to be in Plymouth, where Wolf roamed, and to go to the places where Mike and Beth had been with Wolf, but being on stage, sharing the screening with people that knew Wolf and people that came to celebrate together with us, and talking afterwards. Mike's up there, Jim's up there, and Jim tried to make fun of Mike with his Massachusetts accent, right? Imitating how he says, now we live near the marsh. And somebody in the audience, no, Mike right away spoke up and he said, "You're in my territory now, buddy." And the whole audience just cracked up. So the camaraderie, the love between everybody involved in this film, I know is a result of the fact that it's love that brought us together. It's all of our kids. The way I feel Susan and Wolf and Dakota, that's because of this project. But I just can't tell you, it just was proven to me recently in something else I was doing, how our kids are together. You have a new group in Helping Parents Heal. Something about the mamas. I don't know. My assistant Stephanie, her daughter Katie was killed in a hiking accident. It's a little spin-off group of people whose children died in hiking accidents, and they show they are all together across the Vale. So whatever your kids have in common with each other, like we have this film in common, our connection here is their connection across the Vale, and they're connected. That's the web that Wolf showed us about. So it just keeps growing, the awareness. And Jim, just thank you so much for telling that story so beautifully.
Well,
Thank you,
and
Suzanne.
thank you for adding to that too. Suzanne, I know that you have an incredible connection with Susan. I know that you have an incredible connection with obviously Dakota as well as first and foremost with Wolf. I would love to hear Jim tell about your own, if the connection that you have with Dakota has grown through the making of this film.
Could I
And
just pipe up real quick?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but that I had to leave early. This is something we planned a while ago, but it was great to join all of you. And Jim,
Thank you for
we love
being
you.
here.
Gloria, Mike and Beth, everybody, good to see you all, but I gotta go. Love you
Love
guys.
you guys.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. So that's sad to have Suzanne no longer on here, but I really would love to hear a little bit more about Dakota now. Do you feel that you have a different relationship with him since, I guess, you ordered that book from Suzanne so many years ago?
Well, two things on the book. I do want to talk real quickly about that, and then I'll answer your question, Elizabeth. First off, and I've said this at a couple of screenings, Gloria, my wife Gloria, actually read the book in the upside down and backwards condition it was in. God bless her. I mean, and the reason she did that, she said, well, if he went to this much trouble to get it to us this way, I'm going to go to the trouble of reading it the way he sent it. And I don't know if you've ever tried to read an upside down and backwards book. It's not real easy.
I'm sure.
After a while, it just kind of messes with your brain. You turn the page and it's like, I go, yeah, oh yeah, that's right. You go this way. You know, it's completely bass backwards, as they would say. But there's that. And the other thing that Gloria said one time, and Suzanne's used it, I think, at a couple of screenings, none of this would have happened if Gloria read books on Kindle. You know, I just think that's genius. And the first time Gloria said that, I howled. But as far as my relationship with Dakota has certainly deepened from this, from the making of this movie. And but it was always pretty profound while he was here with us, and also once he went to the other side. It was like I said earlier, he was pretty early on. He was letting us know he was around, and I've got some pretty amazing stories in that realm if you want to hear some of those. But so by the time he got around to manipulating this book, it didn't, it certainly shocked us, but it didn't surprise us, if that makes sense. It was sort of like, oh my God, I have no idea how he would do this, but I'm not surprised that Dakota would do something like this, because that's the way he was here. That's the way he is on the other side. And again, if you haven't seen Wolf's Message, one of Wolf's dear friends said she thinks that he got to the point where he was like, you know what, I think I can do better work from that side. And I think that's where Dakota was as well. But yeah, and Elizabeth, you talked about the song early on.
Yeah,
If you
I would
if you
love to
haven't,
hear more about the song.
yeah, if you haven't seen the movie yet, please stick around through the end of the trailer, because when the trailer kicks in, I wrote a song. Well, I wrote a song with Dakota, and it's so cleverly titled Wolf's Song. Gee, what a great title, Jim. And but it's really written in from Wolf's perspective. And I wanted to do music for the film, and literally Dakota bombarded me with three verses, the chords, the key, the rhythm, the hook, the everything. And I knew it was like the connection was so immediate and so like, oh my God, I got to write this stuff down. I just grabbed a sheet of paper and wrote it. And uh, I don't have it here. I think it's upstairs. This is kind of the way my handwriting looks. So you can you it was like this, oh my God, because I could tell this was like from Dakota. It was immediate, and I want it, and I'm afraid that if I don't write this down right now, I'll miss something. And it came to me, boom, like that. Even like I say, even the key, the rhyme structure, the lyrics, everything. And I changed one line before I recorded it. And it's just a uh beautiful little short song. And
Oh,
but
is it,
it's
do you have it available so that you could maybe just play it for us right now, since it isn't too long, or I was going to look for it on Spotify. Um,
it's
is
on.
it,
I don't know how it would sound, but yeah, I've got it might be better for people to find it on Spotify. It's just called Wolf Song. It's on um I can send you a link, Elizabeth, if you want to put it up there. And there's also a YouTube clip that I put it against just a real simple graphic. You know how they make those lyric videos on YouTube. If you look up Wolf Song, Jim Spruell lyrics,
okay.
they can watch it that way. Or if they want to download it, you can download it through iTunes or Spotify or anything like that.
So I have it right here. I wonder, um, let me just see. Can you hear that or not? Okay,
I hear it.
I'm gonna.
So misunderstood, but my heart was good. I just wish I could go home. Wolf eyes in the night. I wanna go to the light. I just think I might go home. I saw the clouds gather around me like a circle of friends. The light of nature had found me. Now the journey never ends. Underneath the tree where I had to be. Now my soul is free. I'm home. I'm home. I'm home. I'm finally home.
That was beautiful. And
Thank
Elena
you.
sang such a beautiful and amazing song. I think that it is something that goes so well with, I'm sorry, I don't want to
There it is.
start it over again though. But I think that it goes so well with the ending of this. He's where he's supposed to be, and it's just it's beautiful and so uh, emotional as well. And beautiful job, both you and
Thank,
Dakota for doing that.
thank you. Yeah,
And
he rocked that one.
yes, and there are a lot of people on here who are just commenting that it's just wonderful to be able to hear you speaking about this. Um, Asking if it's on YouTube. So the song is also on YouTube, is that right?
It is. I did, like I say, just a sort of a simple lyric video. It's just a beautiful tree, and it goes through a time lapse.
Tree of life.
It's like the tree of life, so it's pretty cool.
That
Uh,
was beautiful.
thank you.
So we'll look for it on YouTube because that would also be wonderful to see that. And I, obviously, it's possible to download Wolf's Message now online, and it's just on the website, on Suzanne's website, and then on the Wolf's Message part. I know that Patty has been putting information about how to watch it right now as well, and it's a lot of fun to see it at these premieres, but I think that many people have seen it many times. I've already seen it myself from downloading it, but I am planning on seeing it here in Phoenix. And I hope that everyone is able to check where these premieres are going to be happening. As Suzanne said, you'll all be on the West Coast this time, is that right? Maybe not you, Jim.
Right. That's
Um,
West Coast. Yep.
And so you guys will be coming, or whoever comes is going to be coming on the 17th of October to Phoenix. And we're very excited about that because we have a huge group here. And I know that everyone's going to love being able to see it as well. What are your
I wanted to ask Jim. Jim, how many places did the filming take place? How many different places did you go with your crew?
That's a great question, Irene. We went to Darien, Georgia, which is where Mike and Beth live, and had a great time. The mosquitoes are a little bit large on their back deck. We learned that, but other than that, it was a beautiful experience. Then we went to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is where we shot Mike and Beth.
No.
I mean, I'm sorry, Ty and Suzanne and Velvet. So we did, so we did Mike and Beth and Darien, Ty and Suzanne and Velvet and Darien, and then we went to Plymouth to shoot all of Wolf's friends, and they were amazing. And then in uh, Atlanta, we shot Sandy Soul Sister and Lynette. So, so not a lot of locations, but a lot of them. And the other two funny stories I want to tell, and I want to give Suzanne credit for one of them especially. When we pulled into their driveway in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and we're in a big uh, equipment van, really nice equipment van, like a Mercedes or something, with 3 seats or 4 seats and whatever, and then the gear in the back. The crew got off, and Ty and Suzanne knew every crew member by name. Now, the cheat sheet Suzanne got from me was, she said, I want to know who they are. So I said, okay, this is Mikey, this is Willie, this is Dana, this is Robin Ray, and this is Jackie. But they were so impressed that they got off the van, and there's Suzanne going, hey, Mikey, hey, Willie, hey, it meant a lot. It meant a lot to them, actually. And it was a pretty cool thing. And the other funny thing about that particular crew is we were traveling in Coeur d'Alene and in Plymouth, and even in Darien. We pile out of this thing, and we're a very, as Suzanne said, a very diverse looking group. And people would always ask if we were in a band.
Oh.
So we decided, you know what? We need a band name. We got to have a band name. And so Willie, who's been my brother for 30 something years, I love Willie, gifted dude, and just the sweetest guy you ever met, and a genius he was our technical director, our executive producer, and also just a genius, and so many. He's one reason of the many that the film looks so gorgeous. Anyway, Willie and I were pushing for a name that sounded like a blues artist. So we ended up, the band name is Cornbread Earl and the Unfortunate Afflictions.
Goodness, that's
T-shirts,
very
t-shirts,
complicated.
yeah,
So
t-shirts available, and
t-shirts available. Well,
but yeah, so that was the other funny part. I mean, we were so, especially in a place like, Darien, and we were interesting looking as a group, and certainly in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, we were very interesting looking as a group, and it was pretty fun. So yeah, Cornbread Earl and the Unfortunate Afflictions coming to a theater near you.
wow. So they were everybody that saw you was looking for what theater it was going to be happening.
Yeah, and we always said, well, it's a private party. Sorry, it's a
That's a
private party.
private party. Well, I just want to tell you that it's been such a pleasure being able to meet you, to meet Gloria, to meet Dakota through you as well, and then to have seen you at the conference, although I didn't know you very well then, to know that this film has been such an enormous success, and um, we're all very excited about having it come to Phoenix. And I I appreciate so much the fact that you were able to do this because of the fact that our kids came together and showed you, Suzanne, and Mike and Beth the way. And just think of the incredible after parties that they're having every time a screening happens, and every time all of that healing happens for these parents and anyone who's had a loved one transition as well. So um, we're very, very grateful. And then also, I would love to have you say any thoughts that we might not have been able to bring up before the end of the hour, which is pretty soon. If you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to leave us with about the movie.
Well, I think my closing thoughts would be thank you for what you guys do. Um, Really, I mean, Gloria and I are lucky enough, and Mike and I have talked about this at length. Gloria and I are very fortunate. We have a lot of friends who let us and want to have us talk about Dakota. And some people, as Mike well knows, are they don't all often have that opportunity. And so you guys offer that opportunity to everybody to talk about their child. And that was one of the things that Gloria and I loved about the Helping Parents Heal conference that we went to in Phoenix. Phoenix was way too hot, by the way, but it's beautiful to be able to talk about Dakota. And I know you guys feel the same way about your children. It's like, when I get to talk about, my child, it helps with the healing. It doesn't reopen a wound. It doesn't do any of that stuff. It really helps. And you guys offer that opportunity throughout everything that you do. And God bless you all. That's huge.
Thank
So.
you. And I think that it's important to understand that it, uh, all of these kids are so excited that we are getting together and that we are talking about them, because unfortunately, we do have even relatives, but certainly friends, who don't want to talk about our kids anymore. It makes them
Right.
uncomfortable. They
Right.
kind of feel like they might say something that will make us feel bad, but all of us know that that's the only thing that we want to do, is to talk about our kids. And in fact, it's even more fun than sitting around in a lot of social situations and hearing about the next car someone's purchased or the trip that they're going on. I mean, that's always fun, but what is really important to all of us as parents is being able to share our kids. And this
Yes.
film is a part of us being able to do that, but also other parents waking up to the idea that this is going to happen for them as well.
Yep.
And
Yes.
thank you. So
Thank you, Jim.
this has
Thank
been
you guys so
wonderful. Mike, would you like to unmute and say anything?
much.
Let me see
Hey,
if I
Mike.
can.
Here he is. Oh, you're
Oh.
muted, Mike.
I'm trying to ask him to unmute. There
There
you
he
go.
As I tried to express in the past, there's no way to fully express what you mean to us now. You're my soul brother.
Oh,
The movie you put together is affecting and helping so many people in countless ways, you know, and you touched my heart with that song like you could not believe. You sealed some of the wounds I had in there for Wolf, and I really bless you for that, brother.
love you, Mike. You know
And
that.
again, thanks for helping parents heal. You do a great job. We appreciate it.
Love you, Jim.
Yes.
Love you too, Beth.
Beth.
Yes, wait. Everybody stay on here. Beth, come back here because I was going to take a screenshot with you guys on here, and I'd love to have
Gloria's coming in.
Gloria. Yes, so good.
She's
So,
coming in.
so let's try to get Beth. I can't see you though. I think
Do
I
you want me to
Hi,
spotlight them?
Gloria. No,
Hi,
it's okay. It's
guys.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Oh,
Hey,
Beth, smile.
here we go.
Okay, I think I got it. That looked good. Beth was just popping through right when I got it. Anyway, we always ask everyone to, first of all, thank you so much for allowing your husband to spend so much time with us this evening. We appreciate that. And then also, we always ask everyone to unmute and to thank Jim, thank Suzanne, thank Mike, thank Beth for this evening. And we just, so if you'd like to unmute, please do so.
Thank
Thank
you guys.
Thank you
Thank
so
Thanks, you
much.
guys.
Thank
Thank you. Thanks, Jim,
Jim.
Gloria, Mike,
You.
and Beth.
Hey,
Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Love you
Great.
all.
Love you all.
Thank you
Thank
all
you.
for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Good
Thank
night.
Thank you.
We'll see you again next week. Always wonderful to see all of you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Stop the recording. Oh, it's still going. Hi, Cheryl.